Hi everyone, hope you're doing great. This is Maro and today I have a Vauquelin replay that I wanted to share with you. I've been playing the French destroyers on and off for a while now, and I guess I made it to tier 7 and I just wanted to reach tier 8. So I had a few games in the ship. I have been doing okay-ish in her. Although it seems when I look at the server data that as far as tier 7 destroyers are concerned, the players seem to be doing quite well in her. Now, this is all relative, obviously, but I think the win percentages of third quarter was around 52%, which puts her pretty high. And I was quite surprised to see that because my impression was of a different ship. And the reason that I am kind of two minds, well, not really two minds, but not the biggest fan, comes down to a few things. Comes down to concealment, firepower, speed, smoke, AA. So it's quite a lot. Concealment, 6.6 kilometers. It's, one of the worst. There are only two or three ships that have worse concealment, which makes it very hard in this ship to contest caps. Firepower, without the reload booster, you could easily be in trouble. It's mediocre at best. Once you have the reload booster for those 15 or 20 seconds, you can really, pump it up. But when that's not there, you are not doing well. And, sometimes I found myself in wanting a higher firepower and being able to really engage without relying on a 15-second booster. Now, obviously, having that booster is very helpful when you have one-on-one encounter versus other destroyers. When you want to start a fire and there are other battleships there, it allows you to pump up a lot of firepower in a short period of time and then maybe go silent. So that's something to keep in mind. Nevertheless, I, wasn't too impressed. Speed, I think it's also around 36 knots. Again, not stellar. Of course, as it seems to be the case with this ship, whenever something is lagging, there may be a consumable. You have a speed boost, it's 20% increase, brings you up to 43 or so knots. Hence, it makes you a lot more competitive and a lot faster. But again, you depend on certain consumables and boosts that you have to employ in order to kind of improve the base ship capabilities, which are, not necessarily there. The torps, I didn't really mention them as a factor because they are okay torps. I guess the only issue would be the 8K range, and with your 6.6 concealment, you only have 1.4K where you can fire from stealth, so not ideal. Smoke, I guess, as it is characteristic of now pan-European and French destroyer lines, you get no smoke. And again, I think in the pan-European line you have longer range torps, you have better AA protection, so you're able to kind of stay concealed more so than you do in a French destroyer, which doesn't have that. Because when it comes to AA, French destroyers, well, let me not speak about French destroyers, but Vauquelin has terrible AA. So anytime that the CV spots you, they can linger over you even more so just to attract their teammates or basically spot for their teammates without you being able to do anything. Which again, not a very position to be in. So when I put all of these things together, for me the ship was somewhat challenging to play. Obviously, I think it requires a different style of play. And, judging by the server data, and given that the ship is doing relatively well versus the competition, it seems the players out there know how to take advantage of this. And, I compared some of my stats with the server wide stats. So, okay, I got in 26 battles, 58% winning kind of record in her, which I guess it's fine. Damage 36 versus 27 for the server. I guess okay. But what drew my attention is the potential damage. So mine was 411 and the server-wise was 465. And I think that's, and I guess the other one would be the survival rate. So server survival rate is 22%, mine was 54%. And that made me think about how careful I generally am when I play destroyers. And I guess even with Vauquelin, to a certain extent, I exercised that caution. Now, there were some YOLOs, and honestly, most of them did not play out as well as I hoped. So, nothing positive there. But it does appear that most of the players, are more aggressive with the ship. Because, as I said, the firepower is not necessarily great, but you do have a very long range. I think it's around 13k, which allows you to perhaps engage with the battleships and try to use your speed and maneuverability to dodge. And I haven't necessarily done as much of that, and perhaps that's why my potential damage is not as high. And maybe my overall damage is higher than the server, but then again, this is the average for everyone in North America for the third quarter. But a way to improve on that would have been to be a little more aggressive with the ship when it comes to engaging one-on-one ships with your firepower, which again I haven't done as much. So, I think just looking at those stats and comparing how I did, made me wonder that even in the few games that I played in the ship, I did not necessarily get the max out of her. Now, obviously, I don't think that's easy task for anyone unless you're really one of the very good players where you can do wonders. So obviously not the case here. But if I was to continue playing the ship, I think that's one thing that I would try to do more of, trying to engage solitary targets like battleships from long distance, looking to have more fires. I think that's something that can be done because your health pool in this ship is pretty good. I think out of the box it's second only to the German Z39 at the tier. Obviously, Scane, which is the pan-European destroyer, gets the heal and over time has a higher health pool. But from the get-go, Vauquelin has trumps it and has a bigger health pool that is able to use. And obviously, having that health pool then should allow you to potentially engage with solitary battleships. Not like I've done here, obviously, that was not a good play in terms of what I did there, exposing myself and almost getting myself sent to port. But preserving that health pool and engaging those battleships could be a strategy to use. Now, obviously, the problem with that is you may boost your damage numbers, but destroyers bring so much to the game, and unless you're able to engage with the other destroyers, the question becomes, well, how much are you contributing to the team? And I guess it's something that one would have to get a feel for and see if that is the best course of action. And I think so far here the game has been going well. I got 2 kills, got lucky with the first destroyer, and kind of lucky with the second destroyer, and it seems there is no end of my luck because here it goes again. Anyway, sometimes that's all you need. So this mode on this map kind of I felt play to the strengths of the ship because you do have a lot of island cover. It's a standard battle. You don't necessarily have to compete in the caps. It gives you a little more freedom to engage when you want. And I think that definitely worked to my advantage. Obviously, also the matchmaking, right? If you are the top tier versus, being the bottom tier, because facing tier 9 ships, especially if there is a lot of radar, is a problem. Not just for this ship, obviously, for any ship. But I feel here even more so when it comes to your concealment and firepower. So here, and this happened to me a lot, and I guess it probably speaks to, my own ability as a player, where I outrun my concealment and trying to, you know, fire my torps, really overexpose myself because I misjudge the distance and how long before I can turn and get to the concealment or stay in concealment. Now here again, my luck continues. The player didn't necessarily take any evasive maneuvers, and I'm able to put her down. Because when it comes to maneuverability, the ship herself, right? I mean, the speed is not the best, but in terms of the turning circle, it's pretty good. It's 670 meters. The rudder shift time is around 4 seconds. So one wouldn't necessarily see those things as holding her back. But I guess 6.6 to 8, and I guess that would be the case with any ship. It does not provide for a lot of room for error. And if you're prone to make errors like I am, then that's exactly what happens. And here you can't correct for that by just smoking up. You're pretty much open, and you have to suffer through the period that you are, marked as a target. So now here in the game, um, the Destroyer and Nagato are kind of pushing on our cap. Colorado is able to take Nagato out. I'm really low on life here, so there isn't really much more for me that I can do. But I'm hoping that as I get closer to the cap with Colorado there, the two of us should be able to perhaps engage the remaining destroyer and at least eliminate the threat. I mean, right now the game looks in our favor, I guess convincingly so, 6-3. So I think there's a little chance that we can lose. So as I get closer to our cap, I see the destroyer is in the cap, spot it, and Mans also has poor concealment as I do. We both fire, and I get lucky, and she's down. And so that's my Kraken. And now, with no threats to our cap, I slowly turn back to assist my team in looking to spot these two cruisers. So, these are kind of my impressions around the ship. I have heard that the French destroyer line tends to get better the higher you go, and I have heard that that starts to happen at tier 8. So I am somewhat excited to play the next ship in line. I think as I mentioned, I got to play around, I believe, 26 games in the ship, and I enjoy the Pan-European line, and Pan-European line, does not have smoke, so I didn't necessarily, and it doesn't have necessarily speed either, right? But I didn't feel it held me back. For me personally, it was, I guess, an enjoyable playstyle, and I guess it was more reliant on torps, but still, very good guns to protect yourself, and AA, which I also appreciated. In this ship, although it appears that the player base is doing better, not the same. For me, I felt, not so excited to play the ship. I felt, always kind of, I don't know, always close to being taken out, I guess is the way I describe it. Certainly not the destroyer that I would look forward to playing again. Not that she was so bad, which she wasn't, but I didn't, I guess there is a unique playstyle that some ships are able to maximize that feel and make it so unique that whatever the cons are against that ship, you still enjoy what she brings to the game. Here, and maybe this is too high of a standard for one to have for a tier 7 destroyer. I didn't feel that. I felt it is, different from other destroyers. So in that aspect, I guess the developers have done a solid job carving a somewhat unique identity for the ship, and I guess for the line itself. But I just felt that the negatives outweighed the positives, and you know, didn't make up for interesting gameplay. So I'm glad I'm done with the line, and I'm glad I had this good of a game. Most of the games were not this good, and some were pretty bad. But then again, that's really due to player skill, not necessarily the ship. So if you are grinding the French line and you still haven't gotten to her, I hope this offers some insight in what's to come. And as I make my way up the tree, I will share with you what my impressions are, and I certainly hope that the things turn for the better, and the ships become more engaging and more interesting. So that's it from me. I wish you all the luck on the high seas, and until I see you again, take care. Maro out.